Sanchez and Carrington children. We're here on a motion to participate. Ms. Schulte is with us for the department. Mr. Nowak is with us representing the children. Ms. Archer is with us representing the father, Mr. Lopez, and I assume he may be there with Ms. Lopez. And then the mother, Kristen Lopez, is with us. Again, that accounts for everybody but Mr. Taylor. I'll watch the waiting room for him. I have in the waiting room, I have Haley Stovall and Hope McLean.
Haley is the investigator and Hope is the St. Francis Family Intervention Specialist, so they both need to be in.
Okay, they're both with us now. This is a Texas Family First case, correct?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, and I in reading the report, I understand the parents are willing to work the Texas Family First. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge. I spoke to Mr. Taylor yesterday. They're in agreement. He indicated that Ms. Archer was in agreement. The only person I haven't been able to speak to is Mr. Nowak on behalf of the kids.
Okay. Mr. Nowak, I know you read the report that I read, and that report indicated that the parents were willing to work the Texas Family First program and do the services requested. Are you in agreement with that?
Judge, I think the only person, and this is my bad, is that I did not talk to yesterday was Megan. I am in complete agreement with that, Judge. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Ms. Lopez, if you'll unmute.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? Mr. Taylor's not joined us. You've heard what we've talked about, and I read in the report that you and Mr. Lopez were willing to work the services through the Texas Family First program. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then everybody, both Mr. and Ms. Lopez have indicated that they are willing to work the services requested by the department. Ms. Schulte, if you have any kind of evidence to put on, I'll be happy to hear it. Otherwise, I'll be happy to just sign the agreed order once it's presented to the court.
No, Judge, I don't have any other evidence.
Okay. All right. Then I will order that the parents, I will grant the motion to participate. I will order that the parents work the services requested in the petition, as well as the different phases of the Texas Family First program. So with that having been said, let's see, do we want a compliance hearing?
Yes, Judge.
I may not be able to give that date to you today. Haley's out on vacation this week. Let me see what I've got here. How far out would you want that?
Can we do 60 days?
Okay. I don't have anything yet. I will leave a note for Haley, and she'll get back with all of you. And the date for our next compliance hearing will be in the order that I signed. So we'll be sure that everybody gets that. So, okay. I appreciate y'all working that out. We'll stand in recess on this case. I don't believe any of you are involved in my next cases. All the rest of my cases are Randall County cases, but for any of you involved, morning, everyone. We'll be back.
Morning, Judge.
All right. I am, give me just a second. Stacey Grant's trying to get in. She's dropped off once. I'm getting ready to call the Randall County motion to compel. I think I've got pretty much everybody except Mr. Taylor. What case are you here for?
Well, I've had technical problems and couldn't get in until close to 9:30 on the Jeff Smith County case.
Yeah, we've already had that. There really nothing happened. The parents had already agreed to work the TFF case, so we just announced the agreement. So yeah, you're free to go.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, then I will call Randall here on a motion to compel discovery hearing filed by Ms. Kopp on behalf of the intervenor, Mr. Massey. Ms. Kopp, is that your client there with you?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, thank you. All right. Ms. Wiggins is with us representing the department. Mr. Ingram is with us representing the child. Mr. Michelson is with us representing the father, the presumed father, Mr. Massey, who I show is still incarcerated. And Ms. Grant is with us representing the mother, Miss Little. I don't show her in the waiting room. Ms. Grant, were you expecting her?
No, Your Honor, this hearing coincided right in the middle of her visit with the child, and I told her that was more important, seeing as it could potentially be a last visit.
Okay.
And
all
Judge,
right,
is Tamara Martinez in the waiting room?
Yes, ma'am.
And is Courtney Tucker?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you let them both in, please?
Okay. Looks like we have everyone now. So there's no one left in the waiting room. So Ms. Kopp, you are free to proceed.
Judge, but before we start, Ms. Grant filed or emailed responses late last night. they remain deficient. Discovery was served on her on April 4th of 2024. And if you take judicial notice of the court's file, you'll see a certificate of written discovery filed that day.
Okay, yeah, I've looked at everything that you've marked as exhibits, and I will take judicial notice.
Thank you, Judge. So the request was that documents be produced within or on the not later than the 30th day following service. Ms. Grant did not produce anything until yesterday. And the may I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to enable it.
Oh, I don't know how to do that, and Haley's on vacation.
I know. I will try. It was emailed to everyone by Ms. Grant last night. And I believe the court may have also received a copy.
What am I looking for? I think
Ms. Grant sent an email last night. It is entitled Scarlet Little Response to RFP.
I did not copy the court on that communication since I wasn't sure I should.
May I forward it?
It's discovery responses.
May I forward it to the court as an additional exhibit, Judge?
I'm sorry?
May I forward Ms. Grant's response to the court as an additional exhibit?
Sure. If you want to just email it, then I'll take a quick break and
Thank
print
you.
it off.
It contains the actual discovery responses that could become fact issues, just FYI.
Judge Graham will not be the judge proceeding or presiding over the trial on Monday.
That's correct. That's Judge Board.
Correct. I just have a motion for continuance that could put us into an extension with services worked, and some of that information could apply should a motion for continuance be granted by Judge Board on Monday, and that would kick it back to Judge Graham.
Well, whether they're deficient or not, Ms. Kopp, what was the original due date for all the discovery?
It was May 3rd.
Okay.
Ms. Grant and I emailed last night. She objected to multiple things, and the law is very clear that if you fail to timely respond to a discovery request, that all objections are waived. That includes any privilege, any meeting at an agreeable location or time during business hours. Ms. Grant indicated in her emails that there were additional documents she had at her office, but wanted me to try and set a meeting up with her to get those documents. She has waived that as an objection. So the only thing that I am asking for today is that Ms. Grant bring all documents responsive to discovery to my office today. I am waiving the request to exclude and waiving any further motion to compel at this time, unless Ms. Grant is granted a continuance, at which point she will need to respond to discovery properly.
All right. So Ms. Grant, you're just asking, when you're saying you want it delivered to your office today, you're saying whatever you claim to be deficient?
Ms. Grant in her email stated, how did she phrase it? She stated that she had additional documents that were responsive, but wanted to set up basically a mutually agreeable time for me to go to her office to review. And I am just asking that the court order that those responsive documents be produced to my office today.
Okay.
Trial is on Monday.
Sure. Ms. Grant, I can't, that's not an unreasonable request.
No, Judge, and there's actually a couple of things that I need to start back at. Ms. Kopp just represented to the court that the due date for this discovery was May 3rd, which is incorrect. The due date for this discovery was May 6th, because if you count out from April 4th, not counting the day that Ms. Kopp served her discovery of April 4th, that gets you to a due date of May 4th, which is a Saturday. Judge, Texas rules of TRCP say that discovery is not due until the Monday following if it falls on a Saturday or a Sunday. That's Texas
Okay,
rules.
all right. That's kind of immaterial at this point because we are way past May 3rd and May 6th.
Correct, Judge. However, May 6th is within 30 days of trial. And so the question becomes, we believed that TRCP still requires that the discovery must be served in a way in which it's the answers are due 30 days or greater out from trial.
That if Miss,
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt, Ms. Kopp. I'd like to at least make my argument. Now, the original schedule, so the disagreement between myself and Ms. Kopp becomes this, Judge, whether or not the original scheduling order that the court signed in this case, where an extension resulted in an additional 30 days to collect discovery, becomes the new due date, or whether the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure apply and that the discovery is due 30 days prior to trial. I contend that it was due, that if it was served at a time that made it due within 30 days of trial, that it was not timely. Ms. Kopp contends that the scheduling order trumps rather than TRCP and that it extends it to the due date to be within 30 days of trial.
and
If the
Judge,
court-
Let me stop both of you. Ms. Grant, did you file any objections based on that?
Well, I was,
Did you object to the discovery based on it? When you got it, you could have calculated that it was within 30 days of the trial date. So did you file any objections?
no, Judge, we were working to willingly provide discovery. And we have willingly provided a lot of discovery because we were trying to work this out with Ms. Kopp without court intervention as required.
Okay. All right. Listen, here's what I'm going to do. Ms. Grant, any discovery that you currently have that your client has provided or whatever, I'm going to order that be produced to Ms. Kopp's office by 2:00 this afternoon. And then Ms. Kopp has said she's withdrawn her request to require nothing, that your client could do nothing but testify herself. That's about as harsh as you can get. She's already said she would withdraw that. So I'm ordering that you provide every bit of discovery that you have at this point to Ms. Kopp by 2:00 p.m. The jury trial will proceed on Monday. I'm going to let Judge Board. You can make your argument for a continuance to him. If there's more disputes Monday morning about this discovery, Judge Board may decide that he wants to continue it. So,
and Judge, just so you are aware, it is our position that we should proceed to trial.
Okay, yeah, that'll be up to y'all. Ms. Grant can make she can make her argument to Judge Board on any grounds she wants to continue the case. I'll let him rule on that. It'll be him that hears it regardless of whether it's continued or not. My schedule just doesn't allow for 4 or 5 days to hear a jury trial. So, Ms. Grant, I am ordering that you provide all discovery you have in your possession or that your client can get to you by 2:00 p.m. Provide that to Ms. Kopp's office. And if you want to, that'll give you time. If you want to file a formal motion for continuance, then you can bring that up with Judge Board and Ms. Kopp can make any objections to that she wants to Monday.
And
So,
Judge, may I make a brief argument for attorney's fees?
yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I finish my arguments? I wasn't actually done explaining. There are some of the items that Ms. Kopp is requesting that attain current attorney-client communications, and they require me to go through every item and redact those items. I am happy to work on that, but between now and 2:00, I can't possibly go through the volume of what she's requested and redact all attorney-client communications.
And Judge, the courts have held that even privileges are waived by failing to object timely. I'm not asking for her notes, but she has also waived that objection.
Okay, well, y'all can take that up Monday too. But Ms. Grant, that can be another grounds for your continuance if you want, that you don't have time to comply with the order that I'm making today. So,
Okay, so Judge, will the order today specifically state that the original scheduling order outweighs TRCP 500.5 computation of time?
no, the order is just what I said, that I'm ordering you to provide all discovery that you currently have in your possession to Ms. Kopp's office by 2 p.m. today.
Or file a motion for continuance to be heard Monday morning by Judge Board?
It can be and or.
Thank you,
Judge,
Judge.
I would ask that it would be that she provide the discovery and then that she may also file her motion, but not that she can file the motion to
Oh, no, that's
out
no.
of her responsibilities.
No,
The
no,
discussion
excuse me, both of you. I've made it clear, I thought, Ms. Grant, I'm ordering you to provide all discovery in your possession to Ms. Kopp's office by 2:00 p.m. today.
Everything that I have been given has been provided, Judge. I was willing to work through the weekend if I need to, and I will, but I don't have anything else for her by 2:00 is the problem.
Well, I'm sorry. This is the day before a jury trial begins, so my order is going to stand.
Judge, I just don't have anything.
Ms. Grant, I've made my ruling 3 times. So.
I understand, Judge. I'm just being ordered to provide something I've already provided, and I don't have additions yet.
I said to provide all additional discovery that you have not already provided to her, that you have in your possession by 2 p.m. today.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. And then again, as I said, Ms. Kopp, as far as you can make your argument on attorney's fees, I'm going to wait and see what happens Monday morning. I'll just take that. I'll listen to your argument. I'll take it under advisement. And then we'll see what Judge Board does on Monday. So.
Thank you, Judge. My name is Laura Kopp. I'm an attorney licensed in the state of Texas. I've been licensed for approximately 7 years. I have practiced in this court since 2019, and I charge a rate of $300 an hour. I had to review the file, draft this motion, prepare for this hearing, and make multiple attempts at communication with Ms. Grant for an attempt to resolve this issue prior to having to come to court today. My client has incurred expenses due to that. However, I am only asking that the court award $300 in attorney's fees, which is what I believe is the fee voucher rate for a motion hearing in this court.
Okay. All right.
Which would be approximately 1 hour of my time.
All right. Okay, then I'll take that under advisement. We'll see what pans out, regardless whether or not the jury trial goes forward or not. Judge Board can sort out Ms. Grant's assertion that the discovery is not really that she didn't have to provide it because it was within 30 days of the date of the jury trial. Judge Board can rule on that, and based on what he rules, then I'll do a supplemental email as to your request for attorney's fees.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Could you put Ms. Wiggins and Mr. Michelson and I in a breakout room?
Sure.
Thank you.
I don't have anything. Y'all can stay in there as long as you need. I've got another hearing at 10:45, but you can use that room as long as you need to.
Thank you.
Okay. Y'all have a good weekend. Thanks.
Judge, one question. Is Pelt scheduled for 1:00 this afternoon, or is that for June 5th?
No. Pelt's on this afternoon. Both Pelt cases are on at 1:00 this afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Kopp, you wanted Mr. Michelson and who else?
And Ms. Wiggins and myself.
Okay. Let me find y'all there.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good weekend. We're here on a motion to modify terms of the mother, Ms. Baker's supervised visits. Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Mr. Adams is with us representing the father, Mr. Baker, who is with us, and Ms. Archer is with us representing the mother, Mrs. Baker, who is with us. I have in the waiting room Amanda Cartwright, Aaron Tyndall, Amy Moffett, and Juan Heredia.
Judge, Ms. Falk.
Erin Tyndall is my caseworker. If she could be brought in, Judge. Juan Heredia, or I guess that's how you say his name, is one of my witnesses, and I believe Amy Moffett, whose placement will be Ms. Archer's witness, as well as Ms. Cartwright.
Okay. All right, then.
And before we proceed, Judge, I would ask the court, it has come to my attention today that Ms. Archer may be trying to not limit this hearing to what was previously put in her motion. And so I would ask that this hearing be limited to just what was filed in the motion on May 2nd.
Okay, I've got the motion in front of me, so I'll approve that. That's all we're here on today is what's contained within the actual motion itself. Okay, Ms. Archer, you may call your first witness.
Okay, I'd like to call Amy Moffett.
Okay.
And how many children besides Willow do you have in your home?
4.
And how is it going with Willow there?
She's doing remarkably well.
Has the department allowed Mandy Cartwright to help you as far as babysitting?
Yes. So because we're not licensed, we're not getting any assistance. I had asked that she be allowed to babysit because like she will do it without me having to pay her, where even other foster parents I would have to pay. And so, and Mandy's part of the baby's life anyway. So they have approved her to babysit for me when necessary.
Has that been helpful for you?
It's been incredibly helpful. Yes.
When Mandy has Willow, is Naya, the mom, allowed to be around?
Not at this time.
At the time I filed the motion, were you the one supervising visits?
I was, I believe.
Is that still the case?
It is not. That was incredibly more challenging than I could have ever expected. Not challenging because I didn't want to do it, just challenging with my schedule and my 4 kids and making, I mean, just being home long enough or not having something else going on to do that was challenging.
And who's supervising now?
St. Francis is supervising.
And that supervision is only allowed at either your house or mom's house. Is that correct?
The visits do not happen at my house. And the early part of her being placed with me, they were happening at the St. Francis has a place that they supervise visits. I don't know if it's at their regular office or whatever. And then now they're all at the Baker's residence at Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday mornings.
And how many hours, do you know how many hours a week?
She does 3 hours on Monday and Wednesday and 2 hours on Tuesday, and St. Francis like transports the baby there.
Has mom been allowed any extra visits on holidays like Mother's Day?
Yeah, for Mother's Day, I had originally just planned for her to come with us, but I then realized that hurt one of my children's feelings, that I was going to be sharing that. And so Mandy had volunteered and Naya had asked Aaron, and they made it work. It really wasn't me. They made it work that Mandy was able to pick up the baby and the parents were able to go to church and lunch with them. I think they had her for about 6 hours. And I think it was wonderful for them, and my kids enjoyed that they had their mom too, without the extra.
Do you know if the same was true for Memorial Day?
No, I didn't hear anything about Memorial Day, and it was a normal visit day, but St. Francis was closed, so I didn't hear anything about extra visit for Memorial Day. I don't know.
Do you feel like that extra time on Mother's Day was beneficial to Willow?
Yes. I actually think that it's hard for them because they automatically bond to their primary caretaker. And I did notice that we had an appointment last week, and she seemed to be more comforted by Naya at that appointment than she had been at the past. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, yeah.
Did that extra Mother's Day visit, you said that was unsupervised?
No, that was supervised by Mandy. Yeah, okay. Just Mandy.
And is there any other thing involved in Willow's care that makes it difficult for you to be there on a routine basis, like medical visits?
Well, I mean, I have a few children, and so I have 4 at home, but I still have one that is like here in town that is only 18, and so I have a lot to do with her. I mean, there was a couple weeks ago where Mandy kept the baby for me all day because I literally had 14 appointments that week, and a couple of them were Willow's, but like sometimes it's not always like that, but sometimes it is crazy. And like I just asked Mandy in the last 24 hours to watch her. Next week I have to take one of my kids to Lubbock. So like in instances like that, it's invaluable to like have somebody that can take care of her for me.
Is Mandy
my kids are perfectly capable, but that is a lot for them. So
is Mandy allowed to take Willow to doctor appointments?
I don't know. She's allowed to transport. She's allowed to babysit. I would have to ask Aaron.
When there are doctor appointments, are you willing to allow mom, Naya Baker, to go with you?
She's been to every appointment that I can think of. Yeah, it's not a problem with her being there.
Would it be helpful if Mandy is sometimes allowed to take her to those appointments then?
I mean, I wouldn't complain about that.
Is there anything else you want to tell the court?
I don't.
Okay. I'll pass the
Sorry.
witness then so they can
I
ask
plan to
questions.
be home. Okay.
All right, Mr. Adams.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Wiggins.
Ms. Moffett, it seems like whenever there's been an issue with visitation, has the department been open to trying to help find solutions for you?
Yeah, I mean, initially when we went to the 8 hours, I mean, I was overwhelmed, but I didn't realize how overwhelmed. And I've been able to communicate with Erin very well, and so, but there was in the beginning, like, she didn't get all her visit just because I couldn't physically get it in. But then we just went back to the department doing it, and so that has alleviated the visit issue as far as supervising.
Okay, and it appears that the department has been open to allowing Mandy to babysit when you need that extra help. Is that a fair statement?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, anything further of Ms. Moffett? No? All right,
No.
can she be accused?
No objection.
So,
No
Ms.
objection.
Moffett, I'll go ahead and release you so you can go back to your day's business. It sounds like you need every minute of every day. So
I'm sorry. My kid had a dentist appointment. And I thought I'd be home by now. That didn't work out.
well, thank you for your testimony, ma'am.
All right. I appreciate you.
Uh-huh. All right, Ms. Archer, any other witnesses?
Yes, I'd like to call Mandy Cartwright.
Okay.
Ms. Cartwright, do you consider yourself a grandma or a godmother to Willow?
Yes, I do.
And just to kind of prove up what we've already said, are you approved to help Amy Moffett with babysitting?
Yes, I have been.
And are you allowed to help transport?
Yes, I have. I've transported her several times.
Okay. And you have a car seat for that purpose, right?
Yes, I do. It stays in my Suburban all the time.
Right now, are you currently only allowed to babysit at Amy's house or Naya's house?
No, I've never. It's always been at my house.
Okay. So it's at your house, but Naya's not allowed to be there. Is that correct?
Correct, except for the Mother's Day weekend. She was here.
Is that inconvenient for you to not have Naya there?
To not have her there or to have her there?
To not have her there, is that an inconvenience?
I wouldn't say it's an inconvenience. I think it's a shame because it would be good for her to get to be spending time with her baby while she's at my house and I can supervise her. And I mean, it's a win-win for all of them.
And tell me, how would it be beneficial for the baby?
For Naya to be there?
I'm going to object, asked and answered.
Overrule.
So if would you ask the question again? I'm sorry, Natalie.
How would it benefit the baby for Naya to be there when you're babysitting?
Well, it's bonding time with her mother. I mean, because if Naya's there and I'm babysitting, I'm going to let Naya be the one bonding with her and playing. But I mean, when she was here on Mother's Day, it was the sweetest thing. We were all in the living room and I have a play mat and a floor with her and Mom and Dad sat there and played with her. And I mean, my grandchildren don't live close to me and it was very special for me. It was a very, very wonderful family day for all of us. And I just, that time with Willow, it just all seemed so natural. And I mean, it was just sad when it had to end for them because it was very special.
And the department allowed that visit to happen, correct?
They did. They
great.
did. They were very good to work with us for that.
If the judge today allowed the parents to come to your house when you're babysitting, would you be open to doing that for Matthew as well as Naya?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest things because with Matthew's job and having his visitation is more limited than Naya's because of his job. And
me watching him having to take off work to try to get some time in with her, I worry about his boss, how much, I feel like that's a hardship. And it's like, if she's at my house and he can come get some of that time in with me here, it just really makes sense. And so I would love for to maybe be able to do it some in the evenings when he's off work or on the weekends or anything to help him get some extra time too, where it doesn't affect his work.
And when this case is over and Willow is hopefully returned to mom, do you still plan to be in the baby's life?
Absolutely. I mean, I pretty much adopted this family, and I don't expect to see them. They'll always be a part of my life, and especially Willow. I'm very attached already.
And did you hear Miss Moffat's testimony about the doctor appointments
Yes, I did.
and some of those being out of town?
Yes.
Would you be willing, if the department allowed it, to take the baby Willow to some of those appointments?
Absolutely. Whatever it takes to get the care that she needs, I'm willing. I mean, I have the time, I have the resources to be able to travel if we need to. So anything we can do to get Willow in with specialists or out of town, because I mean, I know it has to be a huge inconvenience for Amy she's got 2 4-year-olds at home, not to mention the other kids in her family. And I see it being a very big hardship if appointments are scheduled out of town. I know she's very willing to, but it's a hardship. And I'm self-employed and I have pretty much control of my schedule. And so I can usually work stuff in. And so I would be more than happy to do anything that can help her get the care and see the doctor she needs to be seen.
Are you pretty familiar with Willow's medical problems?
Absolutely. I have been 100% involved ever since the department took her. And so there's a lot going on with her medically. I mean, she's doing well, but I mean, the geneticist has found out that
Objection, Judge. Objection. You're saying we're getting out of the scope.
Yeah, sustained. Ms. Cartwright, you can't testify to what someone other than the parties say.
Okay.
Do you personally feel daunted by any of her medical problems? Or are you comfortable caring for a child in Willow's condition?
I'm comfortable, but I mean, I can't say that every once in a while. I mean, the fact that I know because of her brittle bone disease that
Objection, Judge.
she's
That's
fragile.
not evidence.
So
And again, Ms. Cartwright, I am objecting, please. Judge, can we limit this testimony just to her? She answered the question. We'll just go with that. Objection.
Sustained.
I'll ask a different question entirely. Do you have any kind of background that helps you care for possibly kids with medical diagnosis?
Yes, I was a nationally registered paramedic and worked for 20 years in the field as a paramedic. And so I think I can handle about anything that's thrown at me somewhat. So, and then with raising my own kids and being around my grandchildren and all, so I think I can handle it.
And one reason I bring up the doctors out of town is there one that you're specifically wanting to ask the judge or St. Francis if you can take Willow to?
Yes, we're in the process or we've been looking. Dr. Wilson had suggested that she sees.
Objection. This is outside the scope, Judge. If she's just asking for something.
It's sustained based on hearsay.
Oh, okay.
And I'll go ahead and Ms. Archer one step further. I've already said that we're going to limit this to what's contained in your motion, and that's not in your motion. So
okay, Judge, that's no problem. I'll pass the witness.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wiggins. I'll go with you next.
Do you understand that neither yourself or Ms. Baker are medical consenters for the child?
Yes.
Now, in regards to visitation, you understand that it is taking place 8 hours at Naya's house. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you understand
Mostly.
that you are allowed to go to those visits at Naya's house if you desire.
I've never been told that.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, Mr. Adams.
No questions, Your Honor.
Hey, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, anything further for Ms. Cartwright?
Can I ask one follow-up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is one reason you're asking for Naya to be able to go to visits at your house is because this would provide some continuity for the baby for when she's returned to mom?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's a very huge reason that, I mean, I'm sure when they transition, when Willow does transition and is reunified, I mean, it's going to be a little bit upsetting. And I think anything we can do to get some continuity and her not to be in strange situations, I think is going to be wonderful for her well-being.
No further questions?
Anyone else? All right, can she be excused?
No objection.
No
All right,
objection.
Mr. Cartwright, thank you for your testimony. I'll release you so you can go about your day's business.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Archer, any other witnesses?
No other witnesses.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wiggins, witnesses.
I call Erin Tyndall. Judge, Ms. Tyndall, when you became aware that there were issues with Ms. Moffitt's ability to supervise visitation, did you work to get a St. Francis worker to cover those full 8 hours?
Yes, I did.
And did the department request that those 8 hours visitation be at Naya Baker's house?
Yes, we did.
And what was the reasoning behind having the baby have the visits at Naya's house?
That is where the baby will be returned home to. That is where she will live. That is where Naya plans to be a stay-at-home mom with her. So in Willow's best interest, having that much time in her own home with mom is the best course of action.
And we also have allowed ECI, early childhood intervention, to do those treatments at Naya's house as well.
Yes, we have.
And in regards to the visitation being 8 hours, it's been 8 hours consistently since we've been able to transition to a supervisor from the department.
Yes, it has.
And in regards to Mandy Cartwright, we have had no objection with her babysitting for Miss Moffitt if needed.
Nope, no objection.
And we also had no objection to Miss Cartwright going to Naya's home during visits. We just object to the visits taking place at Miss Cartwright's home.
Yes, that is correct.
Pass the witness, Judge.
All right, Ms. Archer.
How many days or hours is the ECI?
The ECI is, I believe, roughly 2 to 3 hours. I'm sure that time changes depending on Willow's involvement. And those are on Wednesday mornings, I believe.
Okay, so there's plenty of other time left during Naya's visitation where she could have it at Mandy's. I mean, ECI isn't the limiting factor.
ECI is during her visitation on Wednesdays, and I believe it's an either a 2-hour or a 3-hour day. I'd have to go back and look at the schedule for sure. But ECI comes and they work with Willow as well as Naya. This is not just ECI and Willow. It's ECI teaching Naya the techniques and tools she needs for Willow. So this is an extremely beneficial part of her visitation that she needs to be involved with. So,
and it's 1 out of the 3 days.
Yes.
Okay. And earlier testimony was that there was no Memorial Day visit because the office was closed. Is that correct?
That is correct. And our policy states that we will attempt and try to schedule and make up those hours if a holiday interferes with it.
Wonderful. Okay. Are you opposed then to visits to Naya visiting Mandy's home?
To Naya visiting Mandy's home?
During visitation, when she's babysitting.
Well, we have all of the allowed 8 hours for visitation scheduled in Naya's home, where Willow will be returning to, and that we feel is in Willow's best interest.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, was this your witness, Ms. Wiggins?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then Mr. Adams, any questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right, Ms. Wiggins, any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Archer, any other witnesses?
No witnesses.
Mr. Adams?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram, any witnesses?
No witnesses.
All right, do we know who Juan Heredia is in the waiting room?
He is the supervisor for St. Francis that we use for visitation, but I didn't feel like it was necessary to call him and duplicate testimony.
Okay, I appreciate that. Do we want to let him in, let him go?
That'd be great, Judge. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and see if he goes. Mr. Ingram, while we're trying to get him to join, any recommendations?
Judge, I don't have any problem with some of the visits occurring at Mandy Cartwright's house. So I guess my recommendation is the motion in the very limited form that it's in be granted. However, I do believe that the ECI visit should occur at Naya's home.
Okay. in just a minute. Okay, there were several things discussed. I've heard enough testimony to know there's no need to file any other motions. So there's several things going to be ordered. Kind of just basically kind of backup plans is what the court's going to order today. First of all, I'm going to order that Mandy Cartwright can babysit the child either in her home or at the parent's home. And if it's at Ms. Cartwright's home, I'll order that the parents be allowed to be present when she's babysitting, as long as it's supervised by Mandy Cartwright. I'm going to go ahead, even though it's not contained in the motion, I'm going to order that Mandy Cartwright be allowed to take the child to any medical appointments. However, I'll order that Mandy Cartwright not be allowed to consent to any medical treatment for Willow. And I will order that when there is an ECI appointment, that visit will take place at the parent's home. Okay, that's all on this, I think. Our next hearing in this case is going to be a permanency hearing. That's scheduled for August 5th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing. So parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket to see exactly what time that hearing will take place. So, okay, we'll stand in recess. Everybody have a good weekend. Okay, I will call two Randall County related adversaries hearings. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us for the child. Ms. Lucero is with us for the mother. Ms. Pelt, I don't see her with us. Ms. Lucero, were you expecting her?
Yes, Your Honor. She just called and she's having problems logging in. So I just went ahead and emailed her the call-in number. So I'm waiting to see if she shows up.
Okay, I'll watch for her.
Thank you.
Mr. Turman is with us representing the father, Mr. Stewart, who is also with us. I will also call cause number 8. Again, Ms. Gutierrez for the department, Mr. Ingram for the child, Ms. Lucero for the mother, Ms. Pelt, who was trying to join. Mr. Michelson's with us representing the father in that case, Mr. Knowles. He's an alleged father, I show. Who is also with us. Okay, we'll give a minute to see if Ms. Pelt joins. Here she is. Here she is.
Okay, good.
So does anyone have a clue who Zoom user is?
I do not, Your Honor. I do have some officers subpoenaed. They are Officer Frock, Officer Curtis, Officer Kelly, and Deputy Brent Williams. It's possible that may be one of them.
Okay, I have Jason Williams. Is that one of your officers?
Yes, that's him.
Okay, all right. And then I have, you said Curtis and Kelly. I have them.
Yes, Your Honor. And Officer Frock is going to be my first witness. I'm curious if that's him then signing on as Zoom user.
Let's see if that's him, because I don't have Officer Frock. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Your Honor. Officer Frock, who do you work for?
Amarillo Police Department.
And what is your role there?
I'm on cellular here. I could try to get on my Wi-Fi if that would help.
You're still breaking up, so that probably would be helpful, officer, if you want to go ahead and try that.
I apologize. I'm trying to get, it looks like I've got a good signal right now. Is that better?
It's much better. We'll try that. Go ahead, Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe my last question is, what do you do for APD?
I'm a patrolman.
Okay, and are you a certified police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
And what special training and experience did that require?
I attended the Amarillo Police Academy, which was several hours, over 7 months of training. Once I graduated, I went through 3.5 months, I believe, of FTO, and I've got 3 years of experience on top of that.
Okay. And are you current on your continuing education requirements?
Yes.
In addition to that, do you have any special recognitions like for crisis intervention?
I do. I'm an alternate for the crisis intervention team. I'm also currently a field training officer.
Can you tell us what the crisis intervention team is?
Yes, it's for people there's something that we come and talk to them about that and see if we can get them the help and treatment with a counselor that they need.
Okay, officer, we missed most of that. You were breaking up again. Is there anything else you can try?
Let me see.
Hey, Steph, I don't know if it's bugging anybody else or if it's possible to fix, but is there any way to get yourself not not flipped around? Is there any way to get yourself horizontal?
Who are you talking to, Ron?
I was just talking to my client.
Oh,
That's
okay.
so much better. That was driving me nuts. I'm sorry. Thank you, Seth. I appreciate it. It's very distracting. Thank you. Much, much better. Thank you.
Yeah, I won't have a crick in my neck when we're through now that you got him straightened up.
I was like, surely I'm not the only one that this is bothering, but my OCD can't handle it.
Ms. Gutierrez, do you want to go ahead with another witness while he's trying to get back in, or do you have him in a certain order that you need him in?
I do have them in a certain order. Let me see if we could just give him another couple of minutes, Your Honor. And if he's not able to log on, we'll go ahead and switch to another officer.
Okay, we'll give it a couple more minutes.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, I do have a list of a couple of prior orders I am asking the court to take judicial notice of. Do you want to go ahead and work on that part right now?
Sure, that would be fine.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. The department requests the court take judicial notice of the prior order in Lily's case, and I believe it's under the same cause number, of the order establishing the parent-child relationship signed on July 18th of 2016.
Okay, so noted.
We also request the court to note that there's a finding of family violence against Mr. Stewart in that order.
Okay, so it's noted.
And additionally, that there's a finding that his access to the child would endanger the physical or emotional welfare and is not in the best interest of the child.
Okay, so noted.
And lastly, on that order, that Mr. Stewart was named a possessory conservator and Ms. Pelt was named managing conservator.
All right, so noted.
In the event that the department is continued as temporary managing conservator of Lily, department would be filing a motion to transfer that Potter County case in. It was a Randall County order, Your Honor, but subsequently there was a CPS case in Potter, so it got transferred to Potter. No final order was obtained. However, with CCEJ being transferred, we're going to have to transfer it back to Randall. We will file a motion for the court, and all parties will have an opportunity to file a controverting affidavit stating their objections that qualify as in the controverting affidavit.
Okay, all right.
The department next asked the court to take judicial notice of the order establishing the parent-child relationship signed by, I believe it's 108th Judicial District Court of Potter County, and that was signed on August 25th, 2021.
And that's as to Mr. Stewart or Mr. Knowles?
That is to Brandon Knowles. It names Mr.
Okay.
Knowles as a possessory conservator, and Ms. Pelt is the managing conservator, Your Honor.
Okay, so noted.
And also with that case, in the event that the department is continued today as temporary managing conservator, we will file a motion to transfer that Potter County case into the Randall County one, and parties will have an opportunity to file a controverting affidavit.
All right, noted.
Your Honor, if I may ask, prior to my being appointed as Ms. Pelt's attorney, I was advised by other folks in the case that she had asked for this case to be transferred to Potter, but that was denied. Do you recall that by chance, or?
I personally do not, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Okay.
All right.
I have one question. As part of that Potter County case, was the DNA results included in that proceeding?
Mr. Michelson, I apologize. I don't recall whether or not there was DNA testing in that. I think we could look into that. Maybe
Mr. Knowles said that he took a DNA test for the child, indicating that he was the father of the child.
Okay, let's move on. We've got Officer Frock back. Let's get him while we can. All right, Ms. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Frock, I believe my question to you was to please explain what the crisis intervention team is.
So the crisis intervention team, we're a group of officers that go specifically to people with mental health needs, and we do what we can to get them with counselors and get them the help that they need.
And did becoming or allowed to participate in that team, did it require you to get additional education or training?
Yes, we do take a CIT course. We also take courses in like negotiator course. We get extra training as far as dealing with people in crisis.
Thank you. Now, did you respond to a call involving Diana October 2nd of 22? I apologize. Let me repeat that year, 2022, while you were working for APD?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the nature of the call?
And I've got my report here in front of me. The nature of the call,
Your
I was.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Officer Frog. Your Honor, I'm going to object to that. I believe that matter was taken up in the Potter County case. I understand that there wasn't a final order out of that case in Potter with Judge Baker, but that case was dismissed in October of 2023.
All right, overruled.
I
Go ahead.
apologize. Thank you. Please continue your answer, Officer Frock.
I was dispatched to a convenience store, the Toot and Totem, across from Northwest Hospital. Ms. Pelt had called stating that Lily was in a crisis and needed someone to evaluate her to put her on emergency detention.
Okay. And based on Diana Pelt's request, did you interview Lily?
Yes,
And in addition to that, while you were around her, did you observe her demeanor and behavior?
I did.
How would you describe Lily's demeanor and behavior?
Lily was, to what I could see, just a normal girl for the age that she was. I believe she was 8 at the time. She was very polite, talked to my partner, kind of colored him a picture, gave him the picture. She was just, to all I could see, just a normal 8-year-old girl.
Now, based on your interview and those observations of Lily, what did you determine initially as far as whether or not the child needed to be detained?
I did not see any reason to place her in emergency detention at that time.
Okay. And following, did you inform Ms. Pelt of that decision?
I did.
And how did she respond?
She was upset. She was a little distraught at the time, stated that she didn't know what else to do, and was very adamant that she believed that Lily needed to be placed on detention.
Okay. Did she make any additional claims regarding Lily's statements?
Yes, she said she couldn't. She was afraid to take Lily home to where her other daughter was. She was afraid to have them together at the house.
Now, based on Ms. Pelt's additional statements, did you again interview Lily?
Yes, Diana actually left for a short time and came back. My partner and I were still sitting in the parking lot and asked me to talk to her again, stating that she had just made more claims, and asked that I would speak with Lily a second time.
In your conversation with Lily the second time, were your observations consistent with before?
They were. The only difference is Lily was a little more upset when they first got there. And so she was a little upset at first, stated that she hadn't told me the whole truth before. But during my conversation with her, I still came to the same conclusion. That it seemed like the issues that Diane was concerned with seemed to be past issues. And they did not change my diagnosis as far as emergency detention.
Okay. Were any recommendations made by you to Diana regarding Lily?
Yes. I told Diana, and I spoke to a sergeant at the time. I actually spoke to the pavilion at the time. And the suggestion that I had for her is that she was going to have to take Lily home, or the other option was to contact CPS and turn Lily over at that point if she felt like she couldn't take care of her.
Was there anything concerning regarding Ms. Pelt's behavior in your conversations with her?
Yes, multiple times. We had to make sure that we kept them separate because Diana would often plead with Lily to tell us certain things. And I had to inform Diana several times that if she was trying to get a reaction out of her or coercing a response, that I couldn't use any response that Lily made when she's trying to give her an answer to give me. So she was trying to, I guess, lead Lily's responses to me as far as what I was asking.
Right. Now, did you also have involvement with the family on December 6th of 2022?
I did.
Would you agree that was just about a couple of months after that?
Yes.
The event you just testified about, correct?
Correct.
Now, when you responded to that call again, were you working for APD as an officer?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the nature of that call?
The nature of this call, I was called to the pavilion by pavilion employees. Lily was there for an assessment. And Diana was wanting, she was wanting long-term care for Lily, I believe. Brought Lily in stating that she heard voices telling her to hurt herself. And I was brought up there because Diana wanted to leave. And they were instructing her that she can't just leave Lily there. I was essentially coming up there to look at a possible abandonment.
And when you arrived, did you interview Diana Pelt?
I don't think I spoke to Diana initially. I went inside and talked to the staff at first. And I believe, I'm trying to see, I've got my report here. I don't believe I spoke with Diana until she came in after a CPS worker came up there. I'm trying to remember that.
Well, once you did speak with Diana, what statements did she make regarding Lily?
Diana made statements that she was afraid to have Lily at home, that she was afraid she would hurt her younger sister or Diana. Diana stated that Lily was often banging her head on the floor to harm herself. And she stated that she was a very headstrong kid, that she never disciplined by any spanking or anything. And Diana stated she had been, she couldn't get any sitters because she couldn't watch Lily close enough because she was afraid that Lily was going to harm her sibling.
Now, what did Diana state in regards to her ability to care for her own mental health?
Diana stated that she couldn't get a sitter. Again, that there wasn't a sitter that could watch Lily close enough, in her opinion, and that it was causing her to skip her own mental health appointments.
Now, while you were at the pavilion, were you able to observe Lily again?
Yes.
Can you tell us what her demeanor was like?
I spoke to Lily before the CPS workers got there. And again, Lily was bubbly, she was happy, she was talkative, wanted to play, she wanted to be near people. Anytime we entered the room, she was happy, she wanted to engage in conversation. She seemed like she was in good spirits, and seemed like she was just a happy kid.
Now, would you agree, you're not saying that Lily did not perhaps suffer from the things that the mother described, but at the time that you observed her, she was not acting in that way?
That is correct.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not Lily was admitted into the pavilion on that day?
Yes, she was.
Okay. Pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Lucero.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Frock, regarding the second time you had you dealt with the family on December 6, 2022, you stated at the end there that was Lily admitted to the pavilion on that date?
I believe she was.
Okay. And so even though you stated that when you had interactions with her, she wasn't making any kind of statements or doing anything that you found odd,
You're muted, Ms. Lucero.
I apologize, Your Honor. Even though you didn't observe any of those actions that Ms. Pelt had stated, the pavilion did admit Lily at that time. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Now, would you agree with me that when Ms. Pelt was talking with you on both of these occasions, is it possible that she was upset that you weren't seeing the same things that she had seen?
Objection, speculation.
Objection.
Sustained. Next question.
Officer Brock, have you had any other interactions with Ms. Pelt or Lily besides October 22 or December of 2022?
Yes, I have.
You have?
Yes.
Okay, and when was that?
I had one November 4th of 23, where I transported Lily back home from the pavilion. More recently, March 17th of 24 for an assessment, and March 18th of 24.
And were those assessments requested by her mother, Miss Pelt?
Yes.
All three?
Well, the first one was not an assessment. It was a transport home.
Oh, transport home. Okay. And how was it that you transported her home? Did you go out to the family home first, or what happened there?
Well, so my current beat includes the hospitals and the pavilion. Therefore, when somebody's admitted on papers, we are responsible for taking them home if they've been on emergency detention. So therefore, when they're released, they'll call me up there and I will transport them back to their residence.
Okay. And at that point, do you remember about what time that was during the day that you transported her home?
It was approximately 3:41 a.m.
Do you know whether or not she'd been a patient there, or has she just been there for an evaluation, or do you know?
I'm not entirely certain on that. Generally, if I'm taking them home, they've had at least an evaluation. I don't know if they've been admitted or not.
Okay. And on the March 17, 2023, was that a call in you stated from Miss Pelt?
On which time, I'm sorry?
March 17th of 23.
Of 24?
Oh, I'm sorry, 24. I apologize. 24.
Yes, Miss Pelt called in. She was wanting assistance because she was at the pavilion and she had both of her children with her at the pavilion to get an assessment. So you don't have to have, as a parent, emergency detention to have somebody assessed. You just have to be a parent and want your child assessed. You have the right to do that. However, you do have to have your child accompanied by an adult, by a guardian. On this time, there was a little bit of a misunderstanding because Ms. Pelt showed up with both children. And the rules of the pavilion are that you can't bring an infant in or a younger child in. It's got to be a parent with the child that's being assessed. And Diana was being informed that she couldn't bring her younger child in, and they didn't have a sitter to sit with Lily, so it was causing a conflict.
And so what was the outcome of your visit up there? Did you stay up there with the younger child, or did you leave?
Diana elected to leave with Lily that night instead of having her. She was informed that she could leave Lily, but it would cause a CPS case to be started just because she was there with no supervision. And she elected to leave with Lily that evening.
And what about your visit out to, I guess, the pavilion on March 18th, or did you go out to the pavilion on March 18th, 24th?
No, ma'am. I went to the front parking lot of Northwest Texas Hospital where Diana was back with Lily. It was approximately 2:05 a.m. And Diana was back saying she was still having an issue with Lily and was still wanting her to get an assessment. However, she still didn't have a sitter. And I was explaining to her that the options were still the same. We had to have either a sitter for the younger child or somebody to sit with Lily in the pavilion, which could include CPS, but a case would have to be started.
Okay. And what issues was she having with Lily on March 18th?
She said Lily was having voices stating that she was going to harm herself or telling her to harm herself. And she was wanting to get Lily assessed.
Okay. And on March 17th, what issues did Diana advise she was having with Lily?
The same issue. She was stating that Lily was hearing voices.
And after March 18th of 2024, have you had any other contact with Ms. Pelt?
No, ma'am.
In your opinion, was Ms. Pelt concerned for Lily's well-being?
Your Honor, objection, speculation.
Overruled. You can answer, Officer Prock.
I mean, any parent that brings their child up there is concerned for their child's well-being, and my opinion would be that she was wanting to get her assessed because she was just concerned for her.
As the witness.
Mr. Turman.
Thank you, Judge. Officer Frock, my name is Ryan Turman. I represent the father of Lily, Mr. Stewart. Officer Frock, how did Ms. Pelt react when this incident in March, when she went to the pavilion trying to admit Lily and wasn't able to? How did she react to that? Was she upset? Was she understanding?
She was upset. Yes, sir.
Would you describe her as hostile or just emotional?
She was emotional, a little bit argumentative. She stated that she believed that the pavilion was working against her by not allowing her to bring her younger child in. And she was very upset that they told her she could come in if they called CPS, and felt like she was just trying to basically put her in a tough spot. But she was upset.
Were you able to calm her down?
I did talk to her some before she left. She did calm down just a little bit, but I mean, she was still upset that Lily wasn't going inside whenever she left.
Finally, just sort of mundane. How many written reports have you generated related to Lily or to Miss Pelt?
I believe I've only got the two from 2022 that I've written. I've been involved a few times going up there. The two in March did not generate a report just because I didn't place her on detention. I was basically there to try to help with communication between the pavilion staff and Diana.
And inclusive of that, are you including any supplemental reports that you may have written?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Have you already provided copies of those reports to the department?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Thank you, Mr. Michelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer, how old is her youngest child, Cora?
I believe in my first report here, not entirely certain on her youngest child's age. I haven't ever dealt with the youngest child, and the only time she's referenced is in my first report, I believe, and she wasn't on scene, so I didn't get her birth date.
When you observed her on the second incident, did Cora look like an infant, or did she look like a toddler or small child?
You're talking about the incident in March?
Yes.
I did not directly observe Cora. I know she was in the car. I believe she was still in a car seat, so she's pretty small, pretty young. But I didn't directly go to her and observe her or anything. I was only there to talk with Lily, and she was in the passenger seat.
Okay. Was Cora unattended then?
Diana was in the driver's seat while Cora was in the back, so she had an adult with her.
Okay. Okay. When you observed Lily the first time at Toot and Totem, and based on the mother saying she was hitting her head, any injuries to her head? Any scratches?
No, sir.
Okay. And did she identify the father in those circumstances, who the father was?
No, sir.
Okay. And so the first incident where she was taken to the pavilion, that was an officer hold?
In the first incident, was that October 2nd of 22, she had just left the pavilion. And so whenever they left me that night, they went home, I believe.
Okay.
I think we had contact with them later that night at the police station, but they left from the Toot and Totem and did not go back to the pavilion that night.
Okay. And the second incident where she was at the pavilion and
correct,
about mom wanting an assessment, there was no action taken in that incident?
That second time in December of 22, there was an assessment, and I believe Lily was admitted that night.
Okay. Okay. And then the third time was at the parking lot of Northwest?
Correct. So the 17th, there was no assessment.
Okay.
And then on the 18th, I believe after, if I can remember correctly, I don't have notes on this. Again, I didn't write a report. If I remember correctly, Lily did go into the pavilion for an assessment that night. I believe I actually walked Lily up to the door and took her in.
And on those incidents, Lily appeared to be a normal functioning child?
Yes. The last incident, she was a little bit upset. She didn't want to stay at the pavilion, but she calmed down very quickly and walked up there with me willingly, and there was no issue with her going in. She seemed fine.
And you might have already answered this question from Mr. Turner, but what was your then present sense impression of the mother?
On which occasion?
On the first occasion at Toot and Totem.
At Toot and Totem, Diana was very distraught. Even initially, she was crying. She was very upset, stating she didn't know what to do anymore, didn't know if she could care for Lily anymore. She was hard to console. And that's why we ended up suggesting that if she didn't feel like she could care for her, that, maybe she would call CPS and turn her over.
Did that behavior appear congruent with the daughter?
With Lily?
Yeah.
As far as with Lily being upset,
in relationship, proportional, did that appear congruent?
I'm not sure I understand that question. I'm sorry.
Was mother's emotion, I don't know how to say it. Was mother's emotion compared to the daughter's appropriate in terms of her response?
No, I would say Diana was very much more emotional than Lily that night. Towards the end, Lily did get a little bit emotional, but a lot of that had to do with seeing her mom emotional and the questioning and trying to
Speculation, Your Honor.
That answers my question. The second incident, similar or?
I'm sorry, Judge, I didn't hear your ruling.
I overruled it.
The second incident, was it similar?
When at the pavilion in December, not necessarily similar. The second incident, Diana and Lily were separated the entire time that I was with them. Diana was much more calm. She did sit and talk in an interview with CPS that day that I sat in on. Lily was very calm that day. Diana was fairly calm that day. The only time that Lily ever got upset that day was when she realized that she was being admitted and she didn't want to stay.
Okay. So it appeared to be a normal discussion with both.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And then the third incident, what was that like?
By the third incident, do you mean the one in March?
Yes.
Okay. Third incident, Diana was, she wasn't as upset as she was the first time. She was upset. She seemed to be upset about the situation, not being able to take Cora in with her. But she did feel like Lily needed to be assessed. She wasn't happy. It didn't seem like she was upset at the fact that she had to go in there without her. But she did allow that to happen. Diana seemed a little more angry than upset that time, I would say, just at the situation.
Okay. Those answers my questions. So thank you.
Sure.
You pass the witness?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right, anyone follow-ups for Officer Frock?
Not for me.
Ms. Lucero? Ms. Lucero?
Officer Frock, with all your interactions with Lily and Diana or Miss Pelt, did Miss Pelt ever play you any recordings?
She did play me recordings on the October of 22 incident at the Toot and Totem. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and do you recall what you heard on that recording?
I don't recall.
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Did you ever observe any scratches or anything like that on Lily with any time you interacted with her?
I can't remember which one. I think there was one where she had some scratches on her that she said she scratched herself, but they appeared to be very light scratches, like with fingernails.
Okay. And when you say she said, was that Lily saying she scratched herself or
yes?
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Anyone else?
Yes, Judge, if I may.
Okay.
Which one of us? Sorry.
You, Mr. Turman.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, officer, in any of your interactions with Lily, have you observed her using what would be described as, I guess, foul language, the F word, things like that?
I have never heard that from Lily, no.
Have you ever heard Lily express any sort of homicidal or suicidal ideation?
The only time is the first time she stated that she had murdered the family dog years before. And I think she has told me she's heard voices about wanting to harm her sister. She was afraid she was going to harm her sister another time. I did ask her about that. And she stated that all she's ever done is pinched her sister. And that had been a while since she had done that.
Based on your observations during these interactions, have you formulated an opinion about whether or not Ms. Pelt controls or suggests what Lily should say when she's interacting with the police?
Your Honor, I'm object to speculation.
Yeah,
I'm only asking if he has an opinion, Judge.
Yeah, you can ask if you have an opinion, but I'm not going to let him give his opinion.
Okay, fair enough. Then I'll let us move along and I'll pass the witness.
All right, now, Ms. Gutierrez, did you have something else?
Your Honor, I have no questions. If nobody else does for Officer Frock, we ask that he be released.
Okay. All right,
No
no
objection.
objections then.
No objection.
Officer Frock, thank you for your testimony and thank you for your service. I'll remove you so you can go about your afternoon's business.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Gutierrez, next witness.
The department calls Officer Wayne Thomas Curtis. Your Honor. Officer Curtis, are you a certified police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
And what special training and experience did that require?
I attended the Emerald Police Department Academy.
I will call two Randall County related cases. First case here on a status hearing. In that case, Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Mr. Ronho is with us representing the mother, Ms. Pelt, who is not with us. Mr. Turman is with us representing the father, Mr. Stewart, who is with us. I will also call in on a status hearing. Again, Ms. Wiggins for the department, Mr. Ingram for the child, Mr. Ronho for the mother, Ms. Pelt, who is not with us, and Mr. Michelson represents the father, Mr. Knowles, who is not with us. This case was set for 10 o'clock. It's now 10:05. We will proceed in the Ms. Pelt and Mr. Knowles' absence. Right, Ms. Wiggins, you may proceed.
Apologies, Your Honor, but I also filed a motion to withdraw for Ms. Pelt in both cases.
Yeah,
I would ask you to address that this morning.
Yeah, I'll have some questions for you here in a minute about, well, we can take that up first. Is Ms. Cantrell your witness?
Yes, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, let's get her in. Mr. Naranjo, you're the second lawyer already. Tag, you're it, Has she been in contact with you?
We met with her last week. I was not able to effectively communicate with her regarding the status hearing or anything like that. And then this morning, she also sent me an email requesting that I take no action in her case other than to withdraw.
Okay. Well, I wish she was here. I have a real problem. I tell you what, I'm probably going to take it under advisement until she appears at a hearing. We can set that for a specific hearing, so you'll know whether you're in or out of the case. But I'm not going to rule on it when she's not here, because I want to tell her that, that I want to hear her side of the story, because it seems like the same problem was with Miss Lucero. She's had two very capable lawyers at this time, and if she says she wants you to withdraw, then I'm going to let her know I'm not going to appoint anyone else. So I hate to I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but these parents think they can just ask for attorneys anytime they want and automatically get them, and we can't do that. We don't have enough attorneys to do that. So I'll take it under advisement, Mr. Ronho, and then we'll wait till she shows up at another hearing. And if she tells you again, I don't want you as my lawyer, set it for a hearing, and we'll have that hearing. If she chooses not to show up that time, then I'll rule on it, and she may be out there with no lawyer. So
thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. I will keep those with my notes, and we'll give you a quick hearing if she again reiterates that she wants you to withdraw. So, all right, Ms. Wiggins.
Yes, thank you, Judge. Is there anyone else in the waiting room?
I have an Avery Hoganson.
Okay, can you let her in? She is a new worker that we're getting trained. So
yeah, sure. And I assume Ms. Cantrell is your witness?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wiggins, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Cantrell, how are you currently employed?
I work for St. Francis Ministries as a permanency specialist.
And are you the permanency specialist assigned to Lily and Cora?
Yes, ma'am.
And how is Lily doing in placement?
Doing pretty good. We have had a couple incidents with her, a runaway incident and some allegations against placement. Those are currently being investigated. Prior to that, she's been doing great. And then even now she's back to following the rules, being easily redirected, and just kind of getting back to following the rules of the home.
Okay. Did it seem like she just had some kind of negative peer interaction?
Yes, ma'am. And that child is no longer placed in that home. And since she has left, we've seen great improvement back to where we were.
Great. And has she had any more instances where she has to go to the psych hospital?
No, ma'am, she has not.
Ms. Wiggins, let me interrupt you. Brandon Knowles just came into the waiting room, so let's get him in.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Judge. Ms. Cantrell, is Lily's medication being checked regularly?
Yes, ma'am.
And has she had a conversation with you about her medicine, or knows she can?
Yes, she is. She knows, yes.
Okay. And in regards to Cora, how is she doing in her placement?
Cora's doing very well in placement. They are working very hard with her on potty training. I've been able to observe some visits. She appears happy. They're doing several summer activities right now. So she's doing very well.
Now, in regards to the service plans, did you create service plans for all the parties in the case?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And let's start with Mr. Stewart. Were you able to go over that service plan with Mr. Stewart?
Yes, ma'am, I did on Thursday.
And did he sign that service plan?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
And did he seem to understand everything that was expected of him?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you believe the service plan was reasonably tailored to address the issues regarding Mr. Stewart?
Yes, ma'am.
And I know one of the biggest issues is just reforming a relationship with Lily. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so we have a lot of services regarding counseling, parenting, things like that.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in regards to Mr. Knowles, were you able to complete a service plan for him?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to go over that service plan with him?
Yes, ma'am, I did on Thursday.
Did he sign the service plan?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
And did he seem to understand what was expected of him?
Yes, ma'am.
And was his plan reasonably tailored for his issues in the case?
I believe so. Yes, ma'am.
Now, is he having visitation with Cora?
Yes, ma'am, he is.
And how is that visitation going?
They're going really well. Like I said, I've been able to observe one visit with him. He engages very well. The full hour talking to her, just really engaging with her. So he does well in his visits with her.
And have you created a service plan for Miss Pelt?
I have.
Have you been able to go over that service plan with her?
No, ma'am.
Was she involved at all in making the service plan?
No, ma'am.
And do you believe the service plan is reasonably tailored to address the issues regarding Miss Pelt?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And do you believe that one of the biggest issues is potentially addressing her mental health?
Yes, ma'am.
And do we have requested a psychological evaluation and TPC evaluation?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Are you asking that those plans become an order of the court?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Are we asking for any drug screens today?
We could do today for Mr. Knowles. We'll do a UA. Okay. And then I still need a hair and UA on Diana Pelt. She did not go to the last drug screen.
Okay. Just make a note. Now, regarding visitation between Miss Pelt and the children, is that occurring?
It is, yes, ma'am.
And how are those visitations going?
They go okay. Some visits are better than others. She does question the children a lot during some of the visitations as far as their, what are they doing there? How are they treating them? Mom does record those visits as well. And I received some pictures and video, and Mom was concerned. For Cora, said she had a bruise on her cheek. Cora and them did have a spa day that day, and they put on makeup and such like that. We addressed it with placement, and they told us it was makeup.
All right. Is there anything else that the court needs to be aware of at this time?
I'm having a very difficult time working with Diana. She's not cooperative. She texts me quite often, lots of allegations, threats, things like that. So she's very difficult to work with.
Hence why we want to address her mental health.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I will pass the witness, Judge.
All right. Thank you. And Ms. Cantrell, I read in the report involving Lily, you're requesting that we appoint a CASA for her if we have a volunteer available?
Yes, I think a CASA for both cases would be great. Cora has some, issues as far as her eyes and stuff. We just need some extra hands on this case to ensure the girls are being heard.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, then, Ms. Naranjo.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Turman.
No questions, Judge.
Mr. Michelson.
I think you're muted.
He's unmuted, but I can't hear him for some reason.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Cantrell, is Mr. Knowles staying in contact with you to your satisfaction?
Oh, yes. He's been very cooperative, very willing, and ready to do what he needs to do.
Great. Is there anything he can do to improve upon?
No, I spoke to him Thursday. We're kind of just getting started in this case. I let him know everything he needs to do. And as of right now, he's maintaining and doing what I've asked him to do.
Thank you. As the witness.
All right. Mr. Ingram.
Erica, I know there was emails back and forth between some of the parties concerns that for Lily that a 9-year-old would be able to run away. And I believe I read in one of those emails, you said there's a safety plan in place now. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, there is.
Do you know any details about that?
The safety plan, it talks about supervision, things. I'm not 100% sure. I know that they were able to get out of the back gate of the backyard in the home, and that's how that happened. So there is safety measures being put in place there. Specific supervision, who can supervise and who cannot right now. But they are definitely much more aware of what's going on in surroundings.
And am I correct that there is still an ongoing licensing investigation?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. And I assume we'll be notified of the outcome of that investigation?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
I know Andy had sent you an email that Lily had requested a radio from mom. Have you been able to talk to mom about that at all?
I know during visitation it was discussed. Like I said previously, discussing things with mom is very difficult. She runs around my questions and such. So I'll continue to ask her about it, but as of right now, she has not responded to that.
Given the mental health concerns for Ms. Pelt and her refusal or failure to drug screen, do you feel like it's in the children's best interest for her visits to continue?
Honestly, no, sir, I don't think so. I think we need her stabilized and to ensure the drugs before, especially as she's requesting lots of in-person visits. Until we can get things stabilized, I don't think it visits her in the best interest.
I agree. Thank you. Last witness.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have further questions for Ms. Cantrell?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Cantrell, would it be a continuing danger to the physical health and safety of these two children to be returned to any of the parents today?
Yes, sir.
Would it be contrary to their welfare to be returned to any of the parents today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was it Lily that wanted a radio?
Yes, Lily has requested her radio. Mom continues to say that it's in storage. She can't find it. If need be, I'll find funds or some way to purchase a radio and get that to
I was
her.
going to say the same thing. It's not some kind of special radio. It's just she wants to have a radio.
Yeah, she wants to be able to listen to her music. It is something that helps her calm down when needed, when she might be, upset and such. So, I mean, it's definitely not an issue to find funds to purchase her a radio.
Well, I was going to say maybe Mr. Stewart might want to purchase one, or if no one else wants
yes, he would 100%.
Yeah.
He's very great.
Okay, great. All right. Well, if nobody else wants to, I'll get her a radio. She just needs a radio.
I think Mr.
She's showing a very large radio.
Yeah, I think he's been great. He's willing to do whatever. And I'll let you know that ICPC has already been completed on his mother in Oklahoma. It's been sent to state office, so we're pending the communication between Texas and Oklahoma to get that going as well.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
then. Ms. Wiggins, anything further from the department?
No, Your Honor.
And Ms. Ronho, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Turman?
No, Judge, that's all from us.
Thank you. Mr. Michelson?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Ingram?
Judges recommend that both girls continue in temporary managing conservatorship of the department. Placement to remain as is for now. I'm a little concerned about Lily's placement, but we'll let the investigation play out. And I definitely believe it's in the children's best interest that Ms. Pelt, the mother's visitation, be suspended.
Are you basically saying until she starts cooperating and gets the mental health?
Yes, sir. That the drug screens.
I'm sorry. And what else?
The drug screens.
Okay. Okay. Give me just a minute here. Okay, then I'll take them one at a time. In Lily's case, I'll continue the department's temporary managing conservator, continue her current placement. I'll order the services for the parents, Ms. Pelt and Mr. Stewart, as contained in their service plans. I will order that Ms. Pelt care and UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today, and I will appoint CASA if CASA has a volunteer available. I will order that Ms. Pelt's visitation be suspended until she drug screens as ordered and requested by the department in St. Francis. and also until she begins working her services. In Cora's case, I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue her current placement. I'll order the services as for the parents as contained in their service plans. Again, I'll order Ms. Pelt to hair strand and UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today. I will appoint CASA if there is a CASA available. And again, Ms. Pelt's visitation will be suspended until she drug screens as requested by the Department of St. Francis and as ordered by this court, and also until she begins working her services. All right, in both cases, we will have the initial permanency hearings on October 14th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket to see what time we'll have that hearing. And again, Ms. Naranjo, if Ms. Pelt persists in saying she wants you to withdraw, just get with Haley and we'll set it for a quick hearing and we can get that accomplished.
I'll do that, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank y'all. We will stand in recess. Two related Randall County cases, both here on initial permanency hearings. Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Ms. Garrett's with us for CASA. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Ms. Naranjo is with us representing the mother. Ms. Pelt, who I don't show, is with us. And Mr. Turman is with us representing the father, Mr. Stewart, who is with us.
Your Honor, if Brittany, I'm not Brittany, I'm sorry, Allison, Brad, I can't pronounce her last name. If she's in the waiting room, she's my CASA on this case.
Okay, she is. I'll get her in. Again, Ms. Wiggins for the department, Ms. Garrett for CASA, and the worker that I've just let in, Ms. Brayton's connected. Mr. Ingram's representing that child also, Ms. Naranjo representing the mother who's not with us, and Mr. Michelson represents the father, Mr. Knowles, who is with us. Ms. Naranjo, were you expecting your client?
Your Honor, I did inform her of the hearing today, but I am going to renew my request to withdraw again.
Okay, all right. If she's still not having any communication with her?
I've had communication with her, Your Honor, but it is not effective communication. I've tried to work with Ms. Pell numerous times, but we are not having effective community. Wants to insist at this point.
All right, I will go ahead. I'll have you stay here today. Brittany, let's go ahead and substitute a new lawyer for Ms. Naranjo after today's hearing.
Okay, I'll find one.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I had Stacey Grant in the waiting room, and she's not on any of our cases today. I was hoping she was there to tell us that the jury trial got settled.
I believe it did, Judge, but I'll let Ms. Gutierrez and Mr. Ingram explain that after the hearing.
All right, we've got, as I stated last Friday, let's see, our last hearing is a bench trial that starts at 10 o'clock today, but I'm free anytime after that's over to hear that announcement if y'all want to do that.
Judge, Ms. Cantrell, can you please update the court just a little bit? I know you filed a court report and 2 amended court reports on September 23rd of 2024. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And has there been any, or are there any updates regarding Lily at this point?
Yes, we do have the ICPC home study back, and that has been approved. So we will be looking, getting therapist recommendation as far as when will be good time to move her. She does have an appointment with a neurologist on the 15th. So we want to see what treatment and such like that she needs, so we can have a treatment plan before we do any big moves. But that's approved, and so hopefully we can get her with her grandmother soon.
Which child? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Lily.
Okay, and she'll be placed with maternal or paternal grandmother?
Paternal.
Okay, all right, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine, Judge. And just to clarify, she's in Oklahoma, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And that's where the father lives as well, is that correct?
That is correct.
And so this would help with visitation regarding the father and possible reunification, since they'll be in the same, is it the same city or just same state?
City.
Same city. Okay, great. And how is the father doing on his services?
Seth is doing great. He, I think he should almost be done with the parenting class. So he has that. He's finishing up individual therapy with Dirk Millam and pending that psychosocial evaluation because he does it at the end. He's doing all requested drug screens. He's doing his services and such. I think the biggest thing is when it comes time, he'll have to have a bigger home. So Lily will have her own room. We have to discuss his work schedule because he works nights. So we're in a good direction. We're going in a positive direction for sure.
Right. And he's right now currently doing therapeutic visitation since he didn't really have a relationship with Lily prior to the removal. Is that correct? And
That is correct.
he'll obviously have support of his mother when Lily moves to Oklahoma.
Yes.
And then hopefully that transition will go smoothly.
Yes, ma'am. We just got to make sure, like I said, before that move, we have a therapist lined up, psychiatrist lined up for her medications, things like that. Just because of her mental health and stuff, we need to have that in place so we're not lapsing on any kind of medication or anything.
Great. And speaking of her medication, is that being monitored every 30 days?
Yes.
And has Lily spoken to you about how she feels about her medication and well on it?
Yes. Thing that does help her.
Okay. And based on her behaviors and placement, does it seem like her behaviors are going well?
We did have one psychiatric hospitalization, which I can see as well needed. She kind of got upset about a promise being made and it wasn't fulfilled. And so she was disappointed. And it just kind of, it upset her.
And has she been able to talk with you through what happened?
Yes. Lily is very vocal. She is very good about expressing where she's at, what she wants. If she's angry, if she's mad, she's not afraid to verbalize what she's feeling.
And has she verbalized whether or not she'd like to go with maternal grandmother? I mean,
Yes.
paternal, I'm sorry.
Yes, she's been, that was one of the things in therapy we were working with about her forming her own opinions. And so she has been able to learn about dad, and she's excited to go be with dad. She says he's a good guy. She didn't know that. So she's ready for some good change.
Okay, great. Now, in regards to Cora, Cora is placed in a foster home in Lubbock. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And how is she doing there?
Cora's doing very well. She's very loved. She's doing pre-K, kind of like pre-K classes. Or I'll say not pre-K, let's say Head Start. So she's doing that. She's visiting Brandon every week for 2 hours. She enjoys those visitations. But overall, I mean, she's doing really well.
Now, in regards, you did mention Mr. Knowles having visitation, and you said that's going well. Is that correct?
To change those visitations from supervised to unsupervised based upon his progress.
Okay, great. So it sounds like he's working in services and looking toward reunification as well. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in regards to the mother, per your court report, she is not working services. Is that still accurate?
That is still accurate. She completed a couple of sessions with Delois Hinder. I don't know exactly where she lives, so I know that Casa was able to meet with her, and they're going to provide me with that information. But I mean, she's not stable.
Okay. And visitation was suspended by the judge until she drug screened. Is that correct? And I'm given what your previous statement was, she has not screened since that order.
No, she has not.
And how are the girls doing without having visitation with Miss Pelt?
They're actually doing really well. Lily has stated that she's doing fine without it. She says that she does not want to go back and live with mom, that her mom needs a break from her. I mean, she's very verbal about what she wants and what she doesn't want with mom.
Okay. And did Cora have any adverse effects with the stopping of the visitation?
No, Cora never. She doesn't ask about mom or anything.
And do you believe it would be in the children's best interest to continue suspending that visitation?
I do.
Now, in regards to the progress of the fathers, it sounds like it's going really well. But would it be today, contrary to the welfare of the child, to be either child to return to the fathers today?
Yes, today. We just got to work through some more things and get some plans going. So as of today, yes, but we're headed in that direction though.
All right. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right. Ms. Cantrell, would it be unsafe to return the children to any of the parents as of today?
As of today, yes.
Okay, all right. But we're working, sounds like we're working very well towards placing eventually with the fathers, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right then. Mr. Onho, questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Turman.
Sorry, I don't know how many years we are into the pandemic. You'd think I'd know. Operate the mute button. Ms. Cantrell, since you testified that we are working towards placement with fathers, do you believe it would be in the best interest of the child and Mr. Stewart at this point to maybe start looking at visitation that's beyond therapeutic visitation?
Yes, I had discussed that with my program director. We would like to make sure that therapist recommendation is toward, for that, as well as seeing if and the mother wanted to travel to Houston, do a weekend visit with her, see her for several hours on Saturday, return her to placement, see her on Sunday, and then return her to placement and just kind of see how that goes.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Michelson.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right. All right, Ms. Wiggins, any other witnesses?
I'd just like to call the CASA, just since she's the only one who's had communication with Ms. Pelt.
Okay. Ms. Brayton, if you'd unmute.
Judge, Ms. Brayton, is it Bratton or Brayton?
It's Bratton, yeah.
Bratton, okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Bratton, and you are the CASA on this case, is that correct?
Yes, me and my supervisor, Janelle Garrett, yes.
Okay, and have you had contact with Ms. Pelt, the mother of these two children?
Yes, I think we spent about 2 hours with her in person. I'm looking up the date right now. 9/29, so about 2 weeks ago.
Has she given you any indication on what she is doing and why she's not communicating with the caseworker?
Well, I think Erica and Mr. Onho backed up what our experience has been. Basically speaking to her, she was full of reasons why things were not possible. She did let us know that she is living at a hotel. I'm looking at my notes right now. She went to eviction court because of the eviction, trying to get that overturned. So basically, she doesn't have an option to live anywhere other than the hotel right now. Her indication was that the eviction court, fighting her case in eviction court, wasn't successful. And so she can't get a permanent place to live because she can't be on the lease. And we did explain that that's going to be a requirement for permanency, or any kind of visitation would be that she has like a permanent residence for 6 months or longer with her name on the lease. And she understood that that was the expectation, but she also indicated that for many reasons that wouldn't be possible. So, and she does have seasonal employment working for a landscaping company, but she also is aware that as winter comes on, that opportunity will probably decrease as well.
Okay, so she didn't seem highly motivated to really communicate with you, it sounds like, or make progress.
Well, she was very motivated to communicate her side of everything for sure. But then when we would dig in a little bit about what are you doing for services and what classes are you, there was not a lot of concrete evidence, and she wanted to provide that to us. It sounded like there was like motivation to show us she was going to parenting classes, and she wanted us to check in with the counselor and all that kind of stuff, which Erica backed up. Like, she met with the counselor a couple of times. She says she's going to parenting classes, and then like we didn't get an email. We don't have more information about that. So I think her perception is that she's doing things. I don't know that she understands that she's not doing enough.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Onho, questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Turman.
No questions, Judge.
Mr. Michelson.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right. Then, Ms. Wiggins, any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Onho. Witnesses?
No, Your Honor, I'll rest.
Mr. Turman.
Rest, Judge.
Mr. Michelson.
My mute button stuck, sorry. No witnesses, we rest.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue department as temporary managing conservator. Continue placements as is for right now until we get a therapist recommendation on Lily moving to grandmother.
Okay. All right. And Ms. Broughton, Costa, have anything else to add that you haven't testified to?
It was all in our court report, Judge, and I think we're in agreement with recommendations.
Okay. All right then. All right. Brittany, just so we can put it on the record, do you know who will be substituting in for Ms. Naranjo?
Yes, I'm gonna do Tracy Riley,
Okay.
and I have a phone number. Do you want that or no?
Yeah, go ahead. And Ms. Naranjo, I'd ask that you notify her. We'll do the same, but I don't know if you may have better contact information than we do. But go ahead, Brittany, if you would give Kendra Tracy's number. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Ms. Naranjo, if you would notify her how to contact her new attorney, and we'll send notice to Ms. Riley today that she's been substituted.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. All right. And then in both cases, I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the children's current placements, knowing that maybe Lily might be moving to her paternal grandmother's. Okay. In both cases, our next hearing will be a permanency hearing on February 3rd, 2025. It will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two before February 3rd to see exactly what time we'll have that hearing. All right, we'll stand in recess on these cases.